And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to the season opener for the 65th season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Barebones Racing Series. We're here in the Midwest. This is Kansas Speedway, ready to kick off the regular season, the run to the playoffs, mile-and-a-half multi-groove racing on tap here tonight. I'm Seth Cole, privileged to be joined by Sean Prime, multi-time champion, multi-time winner in this series. He knows the series like the back of his hand. And Sean, last time we were here at this racetrack 2 seasons ago, but what a track to open up this season with, because it kind of brings all the aspects of mile-and-a-half racing, from needing that consistent speed on the track, but the strategy as well when it comes to pit road.
Oh, you said it, and I'm very pleased to be here with you, Seth. Don't know what we were thinking, but we're going to give it a try and hope it works out well. Kansas, great choice. It's a driver's favorite. It's a fan favorite. Like you said, every element of racing comes into play here. It's a cookie cutter track, but each one of these have their own subtle little nuances, and Kansas is no stranger to that. And we'll get into the dynamics as we go along. But I'm looking forward to doing this.
94 laps of racing here this evening. Of course, we'll be talking heavily about halfway, where 10 valuable stage points given out to the winner of crossing the line at the completion of lap 47. The top 10 end up getting stage points. We were talking quite a bit about that before we came on the air, but one thing that we also talked about here about this particular racetrack is it seems like you can have some pretty good success here the last couple of seasons if you have a 1 in your number.
This is true. This is true. If your name is Supta or Jeffries, we used to call this the house that Jeremy built, because Jeremy enjoys and still does enjoy a lot of success here. But going through the stats and getting ready for tonight, I know personally that Jeff's great here, because in season 63 of the Barebones series, the last time we ran Kansas, Jeff won this race from the pole at 32-147, just shy of what he got the pole for here tonight. And I ran second to him. And back in the Lightning Truck Series in season 62, they ran that at the end of the season, and Jeff won that race too. And I also happened to run second to him. But yeah, so a 1 for 11 or a 1 for 1 for Jeffries seems to be the formula. We'll see if that holds true tonight.
Talked about the fact multi-groove racetrack. I believe I ran this track with you guys 3 seasons ago. And it seemed to me like the multi-groove starts to come into play, especially as those tires start to wear, that tire heat starts to build in the right front. So do you think we start to see a lot of searching going on here in the early going, or do we kind of settle in and then search for that grip as the run goes on?
Be very curious to see how this race takes shape early, because if how you attack your early run is going to be how you're dealing with your late run. If you take it easy early, you can probably hold together pretty good pace through, but if you abuse it and go hard and try to gain too many positions or get pinned down the bottom, your tire wear is going to go. It's really patience, discipline, and you can run about any groove. Some are better than others on the tires. You can see some guys even backing up turns 3 and 4 and coming down the midline there, and you can make some time and save a little bit of tire that way, but it all depends on the current traffic situation. It looks like they're gridding up.
You talked about Supta and Jeffries, how good they are here. They show it in qualifying. Supta clocking in at a 32.166. Jeffries just a tick off at a 173. And they're going to be the front row here from tonight's race. 26 drivers going to take the green flag here tonight in this season opener. And as you mentioned, Supta, the defending winner at this racetrack the last time they were here back in season 63. A lot of ones up here at the front as you got the triple one. Ron Hagelin, command to fire the engines has been given. He'll be on the inside of row number 2 alongside of Grant Wesley. Rodney Sullen's going to make up row 3 with new livery there that we saw debuted back during the Speedway All-Star race last Monday night with Josh Metallic. Colin Flick coming in, the defending Challenger champion from season 64. He'll be in row 4 with Andre Mahjong, Terry Bombard, Jim Gloud, going to complete the top 10. Bob Dixon and Jeff Crivello, they'll be back in row 6. Dave Melson, Glenn Harris, row 7. Row 8 finds Greg Palmer and Dante Ricky. Row 9, Denny Carroll and Ronald Lucet. And then Randy Waugh and Andre Charest going to complete your top 20. Last 2 drivers to take time back in row 11, Dennis McCarthy and Bobby Farrell. The rest of the drivers did not take time, so they were randomly gridded up From 23rd on back, Brian Schilling, Chris Elliott back in row 12, Dave Robbins, Jason Scheck in row 13, and making the final spot in tonight's race will be Doug Cady.
I tell you, there's a lot of sharp-looking cars in this field tonight, Seth. I'm sure Rodney Sullins is responsible for quite many of them, but some new rides out there, and it looks like we're getting ready to go green here at Kansas. 94 laps, and halfway is going to come at lap 47, and we'll talk more about that. Halfway at Barebones Series has become very important.
Jeff Supta through the gears, green flags waving, and season 65 of the Barebones Racing Series has begun.
Looks like a fairly clean start. Jeff's going to try to establish command. Again, the pace you set here is the pace you're going to try to run, and we'll see if anybody else tries to get up and challenge Jeff to lead a lap early. I see Jeremy's falling right in line there to second place.
Jeremy up out of that dark gray through 1 and 2. Hagelin to his inside for the second position. Looks like it will be the Bass Pro Shops Chevrolet Camaro coming around to lead lap number 1. And how important is it to be aggressive here early on? How important is track position here when everybody's wadded up on the start and you know that at some point everybody's going to kind of settle in and just have their own little intermittent battles through the field?
It looks like up front there, they may be settling a little, except for somebody wanting to try to lead a lap early again. Every point counts. We can talk about that more as time goes on. About mid-pack, they're starting to mix it up a little. I see Danny Carroll and Dante Ricky are in there doing battle 2 wide with Randy Waugh in tow, and Brian Schilling and Glenn Harris not too far behind there. Looks like they're going to take a pretty calm approach, we'll say, so far.
Yeah, from what I remember, the last season that I raced Barebones, Schilling likes to work his way from the back to the front. We don't normally see him qualify, and to your point, seeing him starting to cut his way through 3 wide further up here. Rodney Sullins drifting back a bit as he was up on the top of a 3 wide formation with Jim Gloud and Colin Flick. Now it's going to be Gloud and Flick side by side. I believe that's going to be now for the 7th position. They were 3 wide for P7. Andre Mahjong looking on there in the Godzilla number 27 machine.
It was Jim Glad is trying to clear Colin there. Andre is just waiting in tow. They're very close, but there's drivers here in this Barebones series. You're going to see they know each other so well. They know their tendencies. They're very respectful while racing hard at the same time. It's a pleasure to be part of this series. They're going to get it sorted out here, and they're setting a pretty good pace. So tire wear will become as we get going. You'll see guys starting to push up, and this is a track you do not want to get damage on, Seth.
You talked about that wanting to arc into the entry of turn 1, going right up against that safer barrier just before you turn into the first corner, and it kind of reaches out and grabs you. You got to be razor sharp on just how far up you go there to get that perfect drive into the corner. Hey, we talk about track position. What about clean air to the nose here, this 11? Obviously, right now, Hagelin trying to run him down. Metallic closing up for that second position. But Supta got to be enjoying having that clean air for the time being, not having to deal with the aero tightness, maybe allow a little bit more turnability through the center of the corner.
Jeff is definitely enjoying that, and Ron is absolutely going to be in aero-tight land right now. Matter of fact, Josh is getting a little close, but they're not looking to force the issue. Ron's driving in there pretty deep, and I see Jim Gloud moving in on side of Jeremy Jeffries there, having a look at least, and he's going to fall back in line. You can pass pretty well here on the inside, but CTS physics, it's about the draft. If they stack up you to the inside or the outside, you could find yourself getting freight trained. So making a move here right now with this large of a field, you want to make sure you can complete that pass if you're going to go for it.
Just noticing some drivers working forward, other drivers dropping back. Rodney Sullins started 5th. He's back to 9th position, and could be a case maybe of trying to preserve the tires, not push it too hard, but at the same time, is there a possibility of losing too much track position being this conservative?
There is. You don't want to get too far out of sight, but again, if you can keep yourself in the draft and stay disciplined, this is one of the ultimate comers and goers tracks. So you're going to see a couple of guys use their stuff up and start to fade back, especially if we get all the way towards green flag pit stops, and different approaches will come to the top. You mentioned Brian Schilling for sure. He's one he's going to be there. He's patient. He knows it's a long race. He tends to not even mind starting in the back there. He tends to get in here late anyway, and he'll work his way through. Other guys want to get up there, and again, Jeff's in position right now. He's led a lap. He could lead the most laps. He could lead the halfway lap, which is worth 10 points in itself. And of course, then there's the win. So when you're up there, he's maximizing points right now, and everybody else is content with, it's early in the season. We're just going to see what we have right now.
Been a great battle from about 5th place on back. Jim Glaude trying to close up on Jeremy Jeffries. He'll get a little tight. He'll drift back to Colin Flick. Andre Mahjong right there in the conversation as well. Colin Flick finishing 14th in overall points last season as Josh Metallic makes a move up here for 2nd place. And we mentioned about the fact Colin Flick coming in as the defending challenger champion. And because of that, we didn't see him last Monday night, but that made him eligible for racing in the Speedway All-Star race. So, kind of as we talk about the series within the series, we see that just about everywhere. We end up having, of course, the Bracket Challenge and the Talladega Challenge series. Gives everybody something to be able to race for, and I would have to assume a lot of the drivers that participated in the Challenger Series last season going to be in that hunt this season as well, like Glenn Harris and Bobby Farrell. We'll be keeping an eye on that during the course of this schedule as well.
It's a thrilling series within a series, and as I say that, they're getting real close there. Jim had to back out of it back there for about 6th place right now, and he's under pressure from Colin. Speaking of your challenger champion in the outside, Jeremy Jeffries is riding a different line. You'll see distinctive grooves taking place here. Jeremy's been very disciplined in his approach. He's liking that second middle high line. He's thinking that's going to give him better lap times come the end of this run. And right now he's holding himself in 5th place doing that. He's hoping for the payoff there. And as you saw when Josh made the move on Ron, Grant immediately pounced, and that's not because we all want to pile on Ron. When an opportunity comes to grab a spot here, when you see somebody get pushed to the outside, you drive a little extra deep in. You don't want that person getting back down until you get by as well.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of like how you race 2-mile tracks like an Auto Club or a Michigan. If you've got the momentum, you got to take it, because if you let off, in the case of Wesley here on the back bumper of Hagelin, if he lets off, then Jeremy is hounding him for the 4th position. So you got to kind of keep on offense when the momentum is there, and you can throw a blanket over the top 4 right now. This is something we talked about in that All-Star race last Monday night as well with the CTS physics. You can be out in front, you can lead last, but it is very difficult to pull away.
It is. You're not going to run away here on this track. If you do, you've really done something. And you said there's a blanket about to go over the top 6 here as Jeremy's starting to close in with 13 laps down, hitting to start lap 14.
Tires, of course, going to be the major concern here in this race. But what about fuel? If we're looking at that 11 out in front, now granted the drivers behind him, they're having to deal with the aero tightness. It's forcing them to probably lift a lot more on entry, more than likely be a little bit later, getting back to the throttle through the center. But does it kind of follow the same type of super speedway trope where that car out in clean air is going to be consuming more fuel, and if we end up seeing pit stops, he's going to be one of those first that's going to have to dive to pit lane, or does it even out a little bit more when we're 1.5 mile racing?
No, it's absolutely the guy who's being the rabbit, so to speak. He is definitely burning the most fuel. Jeff will have the most fuel miles, just not as demonstratable as it is at the super speedways. But I'm looking at the lap times, and having run this track a few or 1,000 times, 32 threes, 15 laps in, and he was a little lower than that. That's a blistering pace. That really is. So these guys are struggling in Jeff's wake. Jeff is picking them up and putting them down right now. There's a 32.4 flat, on lap 16. That's a above average race pace for Kansas, and these guys are hanging on. Even your traditional guys that are just going to be patient, like Grant there. We'll see what they have come maybe in about another 5 laps. Looking if we can go somewhere between 32 to 34, but Jeff's not getting 34 laps on this run.
Big moment there for Jim Glaude on the exit of turn 2. Contact. He's going to save it, but Bob Dixon will not. They stacked up through the center of 3 and 4. Dixon got into the back of Glaude, and then I believe there was another car into the back of him that spins him around. That is, I believe, it is going to throw the yellow for the first time here tonight at Kansas on lap 16.
Indeed, looks like going into turn 3 there was just a bit of a shack up and a bit of an accordion effect there, and we'll see how that shakes out. But a couple of fries short of the Happy Meal there for the 143. Looks like he took some damage.
And we saw earlier on in the 1 and 2 area, there was a bit of contact between Rodney Sullins and Jim Glaude that put him back in that situation. think the 72 might have used up a lot of his tires. He was really struggling getting back to the throttle through the center of the corner, and you saw that little stack up there with Dixon into the back of Gloud and then Dante Ricky into the back of Bob Dixon as Dixon drives away from the incident. And we talked about this as well. Normally at mile-and-a-half racetracks, there's realistic damage, moderate damage here tonight, but if there is aero damage, even with moderate, how bad does that affect the race car for the remainder of the event?
It won't be as pronounced as with the realistic damage, but there will be an effect, especially if you tick that wall entrance of turn one, like I'm so fond of doing. It'll have a negative impact on you for sure. And you hit it right on the red with your comments before. The tire wear at this point of the run, you had guys that couldn't drive it in as deep as they suddenly could, and guys who suddenly could drive it in deeper than everybody else, and that led to a stack up.
Battle off pit road. Gonna be 3 wide for second, behind Josh Metallic, who's going to come out with the race lead. So the 39 team getting it done on pit road. Looked like Jeremy Jeffries came out in second, and Supta, who led the first 16 laps, he's going to be restarting back now in the third position. So we'll have to see how the 11 does in dirty air now after enjoying the benefit of clean air in the early going.
Jeff overshot his pit stall by a foot in just that little bit of time of having to jam it in, because the number one pit stall here at Kansas is like a lot of tracks. It is definitely an advantage under caution. You get that front nose and they drop the jack, and all you got to do is roll that inch and your spot's locked in.
Terry Bombard, looks like Jason Scheck and Cy Jones all stay out. And it looks like they're going to come down pit road here on the second lap of caution. A lot of drivers will take the opportunity, if they don't have the track position, stay out that second lap, get themselves a bonus point, which we talk about points and how crucial they are. We were talking about before they took the green halfway, those stage points paid out. I believe it was, about 3-4 seasons ago that was added onto Barebones Racing Series, and it's been a huge difference maker, as you were talking about before we came on the air, in terms of even determining the champion at the end of the season.
It is a huge difference maker. It has been. I believe this is probably the fourth season. I'll have to check on that. But we're talking 10 points, your top 10 at halfway, 10 points for first place, 9 for second, and so on. So those add up over a season. Those add up over a race. And in our playoff format that we use now, we have cutoffs every 2 races in the playoffs. So 10 points available at halfway over those 2 races, in addition to your finishing position, they can and did make the difference.
Josh Metallic, I made sure to get confirmation here this week. I assumed that this car was based off of a Le Mans race car, and I had it dated in the mid-2000s. It is a Le Mans race car, but it is from 1969, so good-looking livery for Josh Metallic, and he's going to use it to lead us back to the green here. Lap 19 complete, lap 20 on the board. Good jump up there on the top for Jeffries, who got a bit of a bump from Wesley, but Metallic's going to have that shorter lane into turn 1. He'll clear both the 1 and the 11.
Is going around. Trouble going into turn 2. 111 is around, and we've got to stack up.
Dave Melson around. I saw Ronald Lucet further up, spinning in the Spider-Man machine. And there is the 111 of Ron Hagelin. And I think it's pretty easy to say we could chalk that one up to cold tires. We didn't really have to talk about that on the initial start because tires are a pretty optimal temperature, but you put some fresh Goodyears on here, you run around for a lap or two, you're going to have some pretty slick situations going into the first couple of corners.
For sure. It looks like Ron got down there really close to the apron and maybe just caught the rim of his tires on it, and that sent him up and started that back end coming around for sure. And boy, Dave Melson, no place to go from there. It looks like Ronald Lucier was involved for sure, and then Bobby Farrell on the back end of that. A couple guys made some good evasive maneuvers.
Man, Jim Gloud, how in the world did he sneak through that? Bobby Farrell, little hit there. Door bang to Andre
Takes a couple laps to get these tires up to temperature, and fortunately, I'm sure you're familiar with the phrase "cautions breed cautions," and
Oh,
that can happen,
yes.
especially after a long, good green run like they had there. They've gotten used to it, but those tires aren't those tires that we just took off. We got to give them a lap or two, and it looks like Ron just caught the white line with his left front tire, and that upset the car enough on cold tires to get her going around.
Dave Melson with a hit to the front end, and looked like the 62 of Ronald Lucet may have actually just spun around himself. We actually had a near moment further back that almost brought out the yellow. We were almost four wide going into turn one. Greg Palmer, I don't know if he missed a shift or was just a stack up, but this was before we even took the green flag. The whole inside line starts stacking up. You can see the 41 shoot out of line after getting hit by Ronald Lucet. Then further up here, watch the 22. He might have, that almost looks like maybe Greg Palmer might have lost third gear as it stacked them up. And then watch right here is Denny Carroll around the back bumper of Colin Flick who goes around. So it actually might have been the 95 spinning that initially brought out the caution. John Godfrey there as well. And then we had the incident further up with Ron Hagelin.
There's a whole lot of stuff going on there for sure. Yeah, that 22 of Greg Palmer had all the symptoms and appearance of a blown gear.
And I'm just now seeing on the telemetry that Greg Palmer is out of the race. An engine gearbox, the problem. So, yep, no third gear. That's a crucial gear, especially when it comes to restarts at a track like Kansas. So, unfortunate early night here for Greg Palmer, who's going to finish in 29th, as all drivers that took this green flag are currently on the lead lap. And looks like a few drivers, about maybe a half dozen near the rear of the field, elected to come down pit road, some to repair some damage, some maybe to change some tires. Maybe in the case of the 62 of Ronald Lucet, might have had his tires get worn out with that spin and wanted to exchange them. But something that we haven't talked about yet, and I don't know if I didn't see it. I don't know if it actually is in play here now. I remember it was when I raced here in the Barebones Racing Series, was number of tire sets available to these drivers.
Great observation. We did do away with the tire set rule last season, so unlimited. We are paying the tire bills this year.
Okay. So expect to see a number of drivers down pit road multiple times during the course of these races this season, if those tires are there.
Now, we've had two successive cautions, but they are within fuel range of halfway at this point on 2X. So should we go green and stay green, that halfway challenge will come up without any pit strategy.
We'll see here and now if these drivers can be a little bit more ginger making their way through 1 and 2 on colder tires. Metallic gets us back underway. Great launch for Jeremy Jeffries. Timed it right. He'll have a nose out in front going into 1 and 2, but can he follow that up off the second corner and down the back straightaway?
They're 2x2x2. We hope that they can get this all the way around and get straightened out. Looks like they're doing really well here. Again, there's no clear winner. Looks everybody's going to run side by side. Oh, the 11 and the 88, very close in turn 3.
Grant Wesley with that dive in almost into the passenger door of Supta, trying to pinch him down in that battle for third. Supta looks like he might, no, not yet, not going to quite clear, as they're still gridlocked for the top position. I believe Metallic did lead that lap, but it wasn't by much.
They can do this all day like this. They're not going to want to because of the tire wear, but they could do this all day. And Brian Schilling's starting to show his stuff there. He's right there now with Rodney and Jim Glaude, hanging in around 10th spot.
Right. Oh, Supta got the apron. He saves it. Wow.
What
and
a
Andre
save.
Mahjong had to move up to give him the space to gather it up. That could have been catastrophic for fourth place on back. And now we're stacked up 3 going into 1.
Everybody's doing great reacting here. Great checkups. Great job by Jeff saving there, and we're racing on. But that has now definitely created a gap between Jeff and Jim Glaude up to Grant Wesley. They've got themselves a little bit of a breakaway up there if they can decide if they want to line up and see if they can run away for a minute.
And it's a heart-stopping moment when you're watching that car's back end start to come around. A great save. It happens in a split second. But what does that do for that right rear tire? How does that affect that for the remainder of this run? Or was it so quick that it might not have that much of a factor for the 11?
He still looks like he's a little loose there at the bottom as he's side by side with Andre Mangione coming out of turn two. I don't expect too much here out of that. It wasn't too extreme, but he'll have to definitely. You can get these tires hot. You can abuse them. The temperature is not as much an issue as the wear is and the fall off here, so they will come back to you.
Josh Metallic led us back to green for the restart. He has since now drifted to third. Jeremy Jeffries got around him for the race lead. Grant Wesley took advantage to jump up into the second position. So now Metallic will ride on the final spot of the podium. Pretty good gap back to fourth place where we find the 72 of Jim Gloud. Andre Mahjong right now holding down that fifth position. And a little further back here, you talked about that four of Brian Schilling. He's had the opportunity here with a couple of cautions as well to gain track position. Started 23rd. He's up in the top 10 in the 8th position. And to your point, getting himself now up in the top 10 as we get closer to that halfway point when those stage points are handed out.
Grant Wesley was doing his best showing prime impression, trying to tag the wall at the entry to turn one there. You want to go up there and get every inch of real estate that you can, and just to cut that apex and take that turn, get as wide as high, wide, and handsome on the entry as you can, whether you're going to take the middle line or even all the way down to the low line. You want to get as much as you can, and they stayed, if had they stayed together, when there was that little checkup before. The top three could have run away a little, but they took this opportunity. Jeremy took this opportunity. He got himself a lap led now. Josh is more than happy to sit there in third. He got his lap led. I don't know if Grant's got his yet. They look quite content here to ride it out for a bit, but if the opportunity presents itself for Grant to get a lap, wouldn't be surprised to see him do it too. Meanwhile, Jim is keeping that. He's in range of that draft, so they're connected.
Grant Wesley, of course, on Thursday night, going to be looking to defend his Talladega Challenge Series championship that he ended up getting back in season 64 and finished runner-up here in the Barebones Racing Series as well. Seems like when the playoffs come around, Grant Wesley gets hot. 4 wins in a row, if I'm reading this correctly, once the playoffs began last season. I mean, gracious.
It was 3 plus the chase reset that was just counts as a placekeeper in there. But yeah, it was an epic chase battle, playoff battle last season. Grant and I duked it out with Jeff and Jeremy and several others, but the four of us had made it to the final four. And Grant wins the first 2 races, or rather, first 3 races of the playoffs, and yet somehow finishes second in the championship.
And he is right there within striking distance of Jeremy Jeffries. And now we kind of enter into that search around mode. I guess if you're the 88, see him enter about a half groove, maybe a full groove lower than Jeremy, trying to run in some clean air, allow him to be able to turn through the corner, more importantly, get back to the throttle sooner through the center, not have to wait nearly as long. If you get back to the throttle too soon, your right side is more than likely going to be on a first-name basis with that safer barrier off of the second corner. And you brought up something about Jeremy Jeffries before we ended up having that first caution come out about him kind of changing up his line, as we have a caution actually out right here, so we'll get to that point in just a moment. Third caution waving, and it looks like Andre Charest in trouble up here, just entering into turn 2.
Yeah, it looks like the number 75 has found himself with a good bit of damage up against the outside wall. Looks like another vehicle involved there, perhaps the 96.
Be Dave Robbins. So, 2-car incident here for the third caution. Gonna get us around close to maybe 10 to go on a restart of that halfway point of the race.
Very curious to see what transpires here as far as pit strategy. Are they at race 1 of the season, knowing how the last 2 seasons have come down, being so close? Are you willing to take 2 here? 2 is definitely in play. It's viable if you want that track position, because you're going to come back green with about 10 to go to that halfway point, like you said. And points matter. Grant, I think, was thinking about it right before the caution. He said, here's my chance to get my point, but also he's looking at, this is my chance to get out in clean air and maybe ride this to the halfway point.
Do you think 2 tires are worth it in terms of, let's speculate that maybe we go into a long enough green flag run where we completely run the tank dry? I mean, you're going to be struggling for grip. You're going to obviously be a disadvantage to the drivers behind you, but again, kind of in short-term planning for maybe being out in front when the stage comes around, then you start to drift back a little bit.
Yeah, you're about halfway through through a tire run and fuel run here at this point where the caution fell out. That'd be about the outside limit of where I want to do it. Again, you know you're going to be falling back if this goes green for a long way. So you're cashing your chips to try to, hold on for the 10, 9 laps, what it's going to be to halfway. If you're further back and weren't going to cash any points, this is a chance to try to gain some track position. If I'm up front, I'm going to trust my four in all reality.
Well, everybody did indeed come down pit road. Jeremy Jeffries' team held serve, so he will be the race leader when we go back green. Bobby Farrell stayed out. He'll get himself a bonus point for a lap led and be down pit road this time. Something, too, that we could talk about, obviously, with the stage coming up, but also the end of this race as well. We kind of touched on this last Monday and Thursday night about the new EXC allowing for the admins to take some laps off of pacing, allows for more green flag racing, and that, I don't know, that kind of feels like that throws a little spanner into the works in terms of strategy here now as well, because instead of planning for the usual 3 or 4 laps under caution, you're only planning for maybe 1 or 2.
That's correct. And the drivers will be well aware from race control whether we're doing this. But what you're probably going to see, and this is new to all of us, so we're growing together, is you're going to see first time by like we just saw with the leaders, and now coming to the second time by, we'll get our lap down cars going in and the lights go out.
Something I always love about RTGs, there always seems to be something brand new. It's never the same 2 seasons in a row. Something always different for the drivers to have to utilize and a chance to run for the championship and get that trophy at the conclusion of the season. You see the lights are out on that Toyota Camry pace car, and we're going to go back green with 11 laps left to go before the halfway stage points are given out. Grant Wesley going to be in the outside of the front row here now with Metallic, Gloud, and Supta. The top 5, 28 drivers still running, all on the lead lap. Only driver out of the race, the mechanical failure for Greg Palmer. Getting ready for our third restart of the evening.
So we're going to say the pay slot is open. Not the pay window, but the pay slot perhaps for halfway to cash, get some points out of there. And we're under green. Looks like we're going, and Jeremy's into the gas, and Grant's hanging right alongside.
Right down on his door is Grant Wesley. See who's going to be able to get the better run here through 1 and 2. Inside advantage on entry for Jeffries. Wesley tried to get to the throttle there off the corner, but instead pushes up and opens up the door now to the left rear quarter panel. Here comes Metallic. Oh, Grant looked like he got really loose up there. Had to back out.
It is tiptoeing for the first couple of laps. You really got to be careful. She can get loose on you real fast. Jeff's to the inside of Jim Glad right now, and Andre Mangione again trying to capitalize. He sees that door open, and everybody wants to charge in and get that one spot. And we got to check up here with the 75. Excuse me, 27.
Yeah, big save there by Andre Mangione. Car was starting to come around on him. He was able to save it. And again, to your point, we saw earlier a lot of drivers do a great job of moving up, giving space for drivers to recover. Right there, same deal. Randy Waugh and Dante Ricky both moving up, allowing the opportunity for Andre to gather that machine back up, keep us under the green flag. But he will drift back to 9th. A couple of drivers starting to work their way forward now in the latter half of this top 10. We mentioned Dante Ricky. How about Denny Carroll there, that Crown Royal Chevrolet, now up to the 6th position after both Dante and Denny started outside of the top 15.
Yep, they are slowly working themselves up there, and I see that Andre in the 27 has settled himself back in there. That was definitely a catch your breath and check your shorts kind of moment there.
Metallic trying to find an alternate line here through 1 and 2.
You're going to see it get busy now because, we're on lap 40. It was a big check up the 72, missed the exit there, and Denny Carroll now looking to the inside, and a freight train will set up here possibly.
Andre Mahjong also up there as well.
And Josh Metallic looking to go for the lead.
And he'll take it off of turn 4, opens up the door. Wesley will stick his foot in to move to 2nd. Supta there as well, looking to move to 3rd. So just like that, Jeremy Jeffries, freight trained from the lead. Well, not necessarily back to third. Supta may have clipped the apron just a little there, and Jeremy rode the momentum around the top to get back to P3.
That was a combination of Jeff missing a little and Jeremy just nailing that higher line. If you saw the run he got on exit all the way up to Grant's bumper before we entered the next turn and going into turn 3, and he's going to get another good run here going down the front stretch.
Looks to the bottom now for the second spot. Grant with a little wiggle there. Ooh, Jeremy got those left sides down on the white line on the apron, drifts it up, and now Grant will look for the crossover, and the guy that's loving this right now would be Josh Metallic, saying, hey, you guys keep stalling each other out, not running optimal line through this corner.
It's exactly what he's thinking, and Grant was okay to let Jeremy by and get back in line quickly, again, to avoid getting freight train, but then when Jeremy missed his bottom, Grant took the opportunity to cross up, but now they're side by side, so we may stack up here. And just as I say that, Grant to the second place.
Hard racing up here inside of the top 10. Wesley clears for the spot. Denny Carroll, Jim Gloud, they're in a bare-knuckle fight for the 5th position right now. As Jeremy now looks to the inside of Grant Wesley, and again, people might be thinking they're looking like they're racing as if it's the last lap. Well, in a sense, we're coming around to the last lap of the stage when the playoff points are being handed out here. So, yeah, we are, in a sense, racing to a checkered flag. It's just it's white and green, not black and white.
And people have to remember when that comes, we're still racing. There is no green and white checkered flag here for the halfway point. We will stay under green. We just will mark the lap and cash the points. Oh, we're looking to go 3 wide into turn 3. So Supta thought about it, thought better of it coming in, and that's going to check up and bring Denny Carroll right up to the back.
Ooh,
We got
it.
Contact between the 10 and the 21 going to turn 3. Looks like another good save.
Supta with that move there. I'm not sure he was necessarily going to be committed to going 3 wide, but you show that look in the rearview mirror, it can mess up the driver in front of you for their entry into the corner. I think that's exactly what happened there. Shallow entry from Jeffries, who makes contact with Denny Carroll, saves it before it goes up and hits the outside wall, but that's going to cost Jeremy maybe even playoff points here, as he's going to drop out of the top 10, closing in on about 3 laps to go here to the halfway point.
A great save, but exactly that will be costly for himself right now with coming to 2 to go.
Metallic continues to show the way. Battle will now be for second. Denny Carroll, Dante Ricky right now up inside of the top 5. I believe the last driver that would get points right now would be Bob LaChance, who is currently in the 10th position.
And Jeremy's gaining 1 spot back there, but he's still got to get 1 more just to get into the pay window. And as we go front, Josh looks like he's going to hold a pretty good grip, unless Grant can make a run here with Jeff pretty close to help him. You're going to need help to make a pass right here on this final lap 47 for halfway.
Grant closes it up. It was about 2 car lengths back, now about a car length and a half. Ooh, got really tight there off of turn 2. And I think Metallic, as long as he just hits his marks here, he's going to pick up 10 valuable points towards the regular season. Could pay huge dividends by the time we end up getting to the close of the regular season and the playoff grid is put together. And the halfway points are going to go to Josh Metallic. Looks like Wesley's going to get second, Supta in third. Denny Carroll 4th, and Dante Ricky, Jim Gloud, Andre Mahjong, Terry Bombard, Ron Hagelin, and Bob LaChance. That's going to be the top 10 where those stage points are going to be handed out here halfway through this race at Kansas.
Our previous season, well, we just finished season 64, but in season 63, the margin up, as we just hold that thought, because we have the 72 around with the 27 going around by the start-finish line.
No caution as of yet when we just checked in the pace car. Now the caution is out.
Looks like there's some others who may have gotten involved there. I see the 10 now up against the outside wall.
And this would have been inside of the top 10, somewhere around the 6th position.
Looks like the 72 and the 27 got together, ended up down in the tri-oval grass, and then the 72 slid through the grass and came back up on the track right into the path of the 111.
Terry Bombard getting into Hagelin. Hit as well for Doug Cady. Oh, Jeremy Jeffries was in that. We had a car upside down. I couldn't tell from that camera shot who it was, but a hit from Jeremy flipped a car over. Might have
Might be
possibly
the
been.
111.
We'll check and see. It was either him. It might have maybe been Dave Melson. I couldn't tell.
I think it's the 111 of Ron Hagelin, Seth, looks like. Getting a real good look at all those ground effects underneath these next-gen cars.
Man. Fortunately, that car does roll back on all four wheels. He'll be able to continue, but one would certainly have to think that car is not going to be up to speed.
Didn't take anything too much in the front end. With moderate damage, you know, it's certainly not going to be ideal. He's going to be a couple fries short of a Happy Meal for sure, but he should still be able to be out there and hang on for some points.
Let's watch the one of Jeremy Jeffries here. His car kind of got redirected up the track too. Oh, he got a slight tap in the left rear quarter panel from Dave Melson, and that's what redirected him up into Ron Hagelin.
His damage may not have been that severe. His time on pit road wasn't as much as I was expecting it to be.
So past the halfway point, our fourth caution of the evening out. Looks like at this point only one driver is out of the race from that incident, the 27 of Andre Mahjong.
Looks like that number one pit stall may have worked its magic, and I think Jeff Supta is going to be the leader when this all shakes out.
Shack inside Jones, stay out the extra lap, and you are correct. It will indeed cycle the pole sitter to the front, with Metallic and Grant Wesley going to be the top three here on this restart. And of course, tonight the season opener. Got a couple of races the following Mondays before we have our Memorial Day off week, and I was scanning over this schedule before we came on the air, and Kansas, incredible racetrack to open up the season, but then talk about a couple of wild card races here in the next few weeks. Short track racing at North Wilkesboro next Monday night, and then before we have that off week, Coca-Cola Super Speedway. I mean, you talk about an opportunity for some drivers to maybe snipe win their way into a playoff spot. Door is completely open when we get to the Super Speedway race.
This is a debut of Coca-Cola for the Barebones Racing Series. We actually never run it. Wilkesboro will be a fun one for sure. Definitely a different discipline, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Coca-Cola. They ran that in the Lightning Truck Series, and I think they had a rain-shortened event there last season or 2 seasons ago, and it did seem like it was worth bringing back.
One of the few super speedways that I can remember where tire wear actually is a bit of a factor. So that will be a lot of fun to observe in a couple of weeks' time. But Jeff Supta, he's looking to go coast to coast, pole to win. He's right now about to take the most laps led bonus point as he's about to lead his 18th lap. The driver next to him has now the second most laps led at 17, Josh Metallic.
Looks like a fairly clean start. Let's hopefully give it a lap or two to get everybody sorted out and up to speed.
27 drivers still in this race. We've had no need for the free pass here tonight. Everybody has been on the lead lap at the time of each one of these cautions here this evening. Only 2 drivers out of the race right now. Andre Mahjong, the most recent retiree, and Greg Palmer. 28th and 29th is where they will finish this evening's event.
Looks like Jeremy's wasting no time. He's looking to the outside now of Grant as Grant tries to look to the inside of Josh.
And to your point, that one car does not look any worse for wear from the contact he had there on the front straightaway, bringing out this most recent yellow. And he will swing around the outside of Grant Wesley to move to the 3rd spot. So power move there out of the Oreo Chevrolet Camaro as he looks to march his way back towards the front.
Speaking of marching towards the front, I see the 4 car advancing on my race standings there. It looks like he's just taken over 8th place.
Getting by Dave Melson. Just behind him, Ronald Lucet in the 62. We saw him have a solo car spin with an incident on the back straightaway. Nice recovery for him. Now back up inside of the top 10, trying to hold off the 7-Eleven of John Godfrey.
So yeah, the drivers in this series are I can't say enough. They're top notch. The majority of them, the vast majority of them, have been used to racing around each other for years, not seasons or things, but literally for years. And their racecraft is it just it keeps me coming back. It's difficult for me to watch this. This is the first time I've done this and been able to race and not racing. It's in 11 years actually of this series.
It's interesting how the mentality of a driver kind of goes through waves during the course of a race, depending on circumstances. Obviously, the high adrenaline to get the season started out with, we saw the aggressiveness at the initial start of this race. We then saw them start to kind of settle in, figure out what their car has, what it feels like in traffic on the long run. Had a couple of cautions that stacked everybody up here. They had to deal with the cold tires, and then as we started heading closer towards the halfway point, we saw the intensity kick up again. It looks like now we've settled back in, maybe running for that final potential pit stop of this race. So we've kind of seen the ebbs and flows of driver mentality and the aggression conservative levels that they're willing to be at depending on where we are in this race.
Completely agree. It looks like they're catching their breath. I mean, certainly, but not taking it easy by any stretch. The lap pace is still still relatively intense, but we're about 4 laps or so away from the window to make it on fuel. So everybody at this point has to stop again. And by all accounts, where this is, it'll probably be 4 tire stops all the way around, barring some way cautions fall. But I think they're catching their breath and trying to plan their end race strategy. When do they want to split in half? Do they want to run the fuel? It's always a gamble. If you split the run in half, will the caution come out? You know, and each race takes on a different complexion. This has a little bit of a green complexion at the moment. Hopefully, I didn't just jinx that.
A couple of drivers that were up inside of the top 10 near the halfway point now find themselves outside of the top 15, 19th and 20th. Dante Ricky and Randy Waugh. I'm checking to see if they maybe came to pit road a second time under this yellow, maybe get that extra security, that extra lap of fuel, obviously giving up track position, but could pay dividends for both those drivers if indeed we go into a long enough run to see a green flag pit stop cycle.
See the 111 and Ron Hagelin is back out there after becoming a turtle for a while, and he seems to be missing a rear bumper, but they've let him be out there anyway.
And still appears to be relatively competitive as well. Just behind Jeff Crivello, right ahead of Andre Charest. Charest also had an issue earlier on tonight with some damage, and he's still up here in this group. Caution is
Pace
out.
car is out.
Jason Scheck slow on the apron here. Almost wonder if this might have been an engine failure with how he was crawling around on the apron.
Engine could have let go, and he was trying to get it all the way around the pit road, but could not.
This was on the back straightaway where the issue began for the driver, the number 81, was battling with Dave Robbins for position. And then right here, yeah, engine
RPMs
just goes quiet.
Yep,
And
exactly.
he tried to get it down there on the apron as quickly as possible, but unfortunately, the debris caution coming out here. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this doesn't get us home. This caution is well outside the window.
Oh, I think we're right there. I
Are
tell
we?
you,
Oh boy.
34 with these caution laps, it's going to be close. I'd like to see it go green to the end here just to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if that number 1 pit stall pays off here for Supta once again. Came down pit road as the leader.
Going to be
And
close.
it's
Yep.
very close. Was able to get that launch though, got to the commitment line, and he'll come off pit road ahead of Jeremy Jeffries and Josh Metallic.
Looks like you got your ones there again.
Yeah, our front row for this
These
restart past lap 60 going to be the same as the front row we had to start this event off earlier on tonight.
these gentlemen know Kansas. Well, they all do, but these guys have had enjoyed some really good luck here. I would not write that 39 off by any way, shape, or form. Or certainly, we know not to write the 88 off at all, or half of these guys. And there's Brian Schilling coming into the frame, just and Rodney. So it's still a lot to go here. I remember Josh being very much in contention here, like right up to the last few laps last time we ran here with the next gen cars.
Looking at laps led here tonight as well, there's not been a clear dominant car, if you will. Granted, Jeff has just led his 28th lap, but two other drivers have led double digits. Josh Metallic has led 17 laps, Jeremy Jeffries 15 laps, and then you've had a few drivers that have been out there and led a lap for a bonus point, including Terry Bombard and Bobby Farrell. But you mentioned, even though we've had only 3 drivers lead double-digit laps, we haven't seen Schilling up here at the front yet after starting out back. Grant Wesley has seemed to have a very good short-run car, so look out if we have a late race yellow. Same for Rodney Sullins, and I've been watching that 51 of Bob LaChance as well. He's been sneaky consistent here in this race. He was able to get some stage points there at the halfway point of this race. He's been kind of hovering from about 7th through 10th majority of this thing, and you just kind of get a feeling that maybe we haven't heard the last of him either.
I think you're right. Bob has a good feel for this track. Getting ready to go green here, and let's hope usually the 2/3 mark of these races, I look back, had that cautions breed cautions feeling because guys sense that urgency, they want to get going. So as they get going here, let's hope we can keep this green flag out because if you're mid-pack here, this is when you want to start making a move. And just as I say that, there's a big check up on the start.
That was
62 looks like he was missing his gear.
Yep. Might have lost second gear. We also got a car almost around back there of Andre Charest in the 75. He went down to the infield grass, so we do stay green. I don't know if that was just started in the wrong gear for the 62, or if he did lose a gear. That would have been a round where he would have been in second gear. That is, again, another crucial gear that you need on a restart, as Charest did gather it back up and did continue on. So we'll stay under green for the time being, and the battle will be for third.
These drivers do a great job of reacting, and it looks like it's just a giant accordion from what happened with the 62 just ended up at the 75.
Wesley going to clear for third. Here comes Schilling now. The 4 car looking for P4. Tuxton Line didn't have quite the run he needed there into turn 2.
Now, while Jeremy's made that high line work for him all night, especially on the long runs, at the short run here on the initial start, how much is he willing to give up if they're crowding him and freight training him on the inside?
And here's the thing, too. You brought up the fact that we might be now right in that window to make it the rest of the way. And when we talk about driver mentality, what mode are you in right now? Are you trying to preserve your tires for up to lap 93, 94? Or are you thinking there's probably going to be another yellow? Let me use this fresh rubber I've got right now, try and gain the track position, establish the race lead for the remainder if I don't come to pit road at all for the remainder of this race.
These guys have taught me this lesson the hard way so many times. I want to save tires, but if I'm Jeff Supta right now, I'm in the clean air. I'm set on kill. I'm watching. I want to hit my apexes. I want to, control it, and hopefully they don't look in the mirror, make sure they're not lining up to one side or the other. Not throwing blocks here yet, but controlling that air, and hopefully they start racing behind him is what he's looking for. If I'm up front, I'm on kill, but I can guarantee you, Grant is saving every bit of tire he can. Josh is not not using everything he can right now either. Same thing. They're all positioned to really get after it here if it stays green.
We'll jump back here, look at a good battle for the 8th position. Chris Elliott, haven't talked much about him tonight. Just ran his fastest lap of the race right there as he's trying to hold off Dave Melson and Terry Bombard. Good run there for the Fritos Dodge. Dodge very well represented here in this series. I've counted at least 3 Chargers in the field here tonight. Don't really see Dodge run an awful lot in other series, and pretty good representation. Colin Flick, I believe, is in a Dodge as well. Andre Mahjong, the 27, also in a Dodge.
got some diversity. We got the Dodge. I think we have a couple of Hondas out here at 1.2. And yeah, Chris Elliott, glad to see him back in the series. I think he's recently retired. Good to see him coming out again on Mondays.
Grant Wesley, big moment there. Tried to the inside of Josh Metallic for second. Got those left sides down near that white line separating the banking of the track from the apron. Got loose, gathered it back up, but drifts now from third to the fifth position. Tucks in front of the 38 of Rodney Sullins. And you saw both of them, just that little bump there off that outside wall. You talked about that, Jeff, wanting to have just as much room to be able to drive it deep into turn one, but if you clip that outside wall, especially back when they ran with realistic damage, that could be a race ender.
Oh, it is definitely, I can speak from firsthand experience. It has killed me here before. Now, interestingly enough, Grant's going to settle in there. If I'm making a pass right now, I've got to be sure I'm going to complete it. I do not want to get in a side-by-side battle for 2, 3, 4 laps, for third, fourth, fifth, eighth place. Moves need to be decisive now, again, because tires are going to matter. If we go green to the end here, we're using it all. We are using everything. We're using all the tires. We're using all the fuel. We're going to use all the talent.
We have 10 races in the regular season here to put together our playoff grid, and if you tune into the Talladega Challenge Series on Thursday nights, pretty similar in how the playoffs are put together. The top 12 drivers in the point stands, regardless if they have won or not, are in the playoffs, and then any driver that is outside of the top 12 but inside of the top 20 with a victory also would get into a playoff position. So a lot of opportunity here. If you have good, consistent runs during the course of this regular season, don't even need a checkered flag, you still could have a shot at being in the hunt for the championship here this season.
Remember, if we get a lull, and I see the yellow flag waving again, just now, if I saw. Said if we get a lull, I'll tell you about how much points matter. Let's see what we're doing green caution for now.
That is caution number 6, and a lot of damage on the 21 of Randy Waugh. So he was obviously right in the forefront of whatever this was. Smoke lingering, it looked like over in turn 4.
6 was the number of cautions we had at the last race here. About average for these cookie cutters, 6, 7.
Let's take a look at what happened. Battling for the 15th position with John Godfrey.
Yeah, it looks like this John Godfrey and Randy Waugh had a little get together in turn 3.
Oh, and then Bob Dixon and Bobby Farrell were side by side, and Dixon did not have much of a lane to be able to avoid. Slams into the driver's side of the Alabama Crimson Tide Dodge.
Oh, that's going to leave a mark for sure.
Yeah, couple of marks.
Yeah, I fear the 21 might be done for the night on that one.
Here's a look from the 143 perspective here.
Looks like they're going to give it some work in the pits.
Bobby Farrell collected up as well. Little contact for the 96 of Dave Robbins. That's a big shot there for Randy Waugh, and I would be...
They're working on it. Let's see if they
really?
can get it back out. I guess the moderate damage thing looks like Mr. Supta and pit stall 1 is out first off pit road again.
You talked about it earlier, the cautions breeding cautions. We're now getting around 20 laps to go. We know the restarts are going to be more and more aggressive. So now, with this yellow coming out, does this start to favor those drivers that are really good on the short run launches?
It does. This is a track where we have run multiple times here, literally caution free. But now that we're in this cycle with 20 to go, I tell you, I'm a little bit fearful that we could have that caution cycle.
Grant Wesley going to be the leader here.
Have to look back and see if Grant took 2 tires or what his strategy was.
That's got him the track position he needs. Supta's going to have to be on the outside of the front row now with Metallic, Jeffries, and Schilling the
Yep,
top five.
Grant made that two-tire call I was talking about, and about
Hmm.
well, we still 20 laps to go. They weren't that bad. This is within doable range. Well, against all these four tires, it's a tall order, but he needed the track position. He had found himself, I think, back around fifth when that caution came out.
So, what are you banking on here if you're Grant? Like, how many laps do you need for the possibility that then everybody's going to come back down pit road again for tires? You can take four and be the first one down pit road and off pit road, or has he basically made his bed here and that was the final pit stop that we're going to see the 88 make?
Well, I think he's made his bed. If there is another round of pit stops, if there's another caution, guys want to go in, say with 12, 13 to go, they could possibly get two, but Grant's going to be married to four at that point. Or his two are just going to get weaker. So he's played his cards right now. He's going to try to get out there and manage his clean air, and maybe the caution fest will happen, and he can get to the end of this.
Well, 2 seasons ago, last time they were in Kansas, Grant finished fifth inside of the top five. As up through the years, we're back underway, our sixth restart of the evening, and Grant will look to establish the race lead, try and get them stacked up from second place on back, pull away a little bit here and enjoy this clean air.
He's got the start that he wanted. Jeff's going to fall in line behind him. Hopefully, he wants to see them racing as much as he can behind him, and looks like Josh may do that favor for him.
They did indeed repair the 21 of Randy Waugh, get him back out there, so 26 drivers still running and all on the lead lap at this point in time, and we definitely got the confirmation on the engine failure from Jason Scheck, popped up in our YouTube chat with a resounding kaboom. So tough break there for Scheck, one of two drivers out of the race due to mechanical problems here, as we're going to go three, whoa,
Oh, that was
almost
close.
three, and that just checked up both Supta and Metallic with that shallow entry into the third corner.
But we're in for a treat. This goes on every week. I mean, the talent and the respect and the appreciation these guys have for each other. I'm telling you how much I'm missing it right now, because I'd be sticking myself right into the middle of that, because we can do it and they can do it. They can run. I mean, Jeremy was right literally on Josh's back bumper a couple laps ago, and they, they're looking at masters of their craft.
Two tires only held on for 2 laps for Grant Wesley before the four freshies of Jeff Supta were able to get around him off of turn 4 and had him cleared by the time they got to turn 1. Now for Grant Wesley, it's hang on time, because there's more 4 sets of tires behind him. Metallic, the next one, looking low here for second place.
When you've got four and you come up on somebody who's got two, you just have that extra boost of confidence, and you feel hungry, and a little door banging going down the backstretch. Grant's not going to go lightly into that good night, but he's in trouble here. The freight train is stacking up on the 88 right now, if you see.
Metallic's going to clear for the spot. Here comes Schilling right behind him. Jeremy Jeffries right behind him. Rodney Sullins. A lot of hungry wolves looking at those worn out left side tires on the 88 and looking to take advantage. For Grant, he's just trying to find a space down in line to be able to ride, try and get out of that second lane.
And just to add the intensity up more, we have entered the window for racing back should the caution fly again.
Battle closes up for second place. Brian Schilling has passed the most cars here tonight. Started this race outside of the top 20. Now looking for the second position on Josh Metallic. And, while you kind of look at the cars up here that have led laps like Supta, like Metallic, like Jeffries, Grant Wesley, I kind of feel like for Brian Schilling, he gets a little bit more of an advantage with starting towards the rear, because he knows how you have to pace yourself in the aero traffic, what you need to do in terms of timing for the moves, where the grooves are at a certain point of the run. He's not had the benefit of clean air the entire race, and that's allowing him to be on the offense here as he tries to work his way up the podium, and caution's going to come out. These yellows have also helped him out a ton too in being able to gain track position, and this one may help him as well as 7th caution comes out. And
looks like the 62 was involved. Your analysis on Brian is exactly right, by the way. We used to, for many seasons, we would have the previous top three from last week's race not qualify in the next race because we're a qualify series. And, I've been fortunate to enjoy a lot of upfront qualifying, but I enjoyed those times where you were lucky enough to finish in the top three the previous week and have to start in the rear. Was it chaotic? Well, of course it was, trying to weave your way through there. But for that exact reason. Baptism by fire, you really got that perspective and feel, and when you got up closer to clean air, suddenly you felt really even better.
Just slight contact to the back of Terry Bombard gets that 62 just out of shape enough that it goes around. They'd stacked up a little bit in front of them, Dante Ricky and Terry Bombard. Little contact
Just
with the back end of the race car, but should be good to go. Had worked his way up after having an earlier spin, had Ronald Lucet, and now he'll have to do it again with a lot less laps to work with.
just right at the moment that the suspension uploaded there, and when Ronald got out of it, and around she was going, but not too much damage for him.
Ronald Lucet on pit road, and didn't get the opportunity to talk about this race car that we saw last Monday night in the Speedway All-Star race, but Rodney Sullins, appreciate him coming through with the background story on this. Apparently this is a tribute scheme, this is a commemorative scheme for Ronald Lucet's grandson. Apparently this is for his as I said, for Ronald Lucet's grandson Mathis, who is fighting acute, I'm going to hopefully not butcher this, acute lymphoblastic leukemia since late April this year, and he's a huge Spider-Man fan. They actually even took this race car and made an official custom diecast, 124 scale diecast of this scheme. Looks absolutely amazing. Ronnie sent me the photos of it and everything, the unboxing. Super, super cool when you have schemes out there that have those kind of stories behind them.
It's fantastic, and yeah, Rodney getting that done for him was great, and his paint jobs are great to begin with, so it looks really good. You should check out the 62 anytime that you can. Yeah, I have shared photos and stuff with Ronald is a class act, Ronald Lucier, and Mathis is about the same age as my youngest grandson, because yes, I am old. My youngest grandson Arthur, and they spend time in Grandpa's simulators.
Mathis, 3 years, 10 months old. Man. So, obviously, our thoughts are definitely with Mathis, and super cool to see that car out there. Unfortunately, the reason for this most recent yellow, but sets us up for a restart with 10 to go. And you mentioned it about Grant taking on the two tires. With doing that, everybody did come down pit road. He took on 4, but that left him susceptible to all those that would take 2, and now Grant Wesley's going to find himself way outside of the top 5 here on this restart.
He's going to have 10 laps to make those 4 work for him, and we know he can, but here we go, Green, and Jeff's out front, and he's getting a good push right off the bat from Jeremy, and Rodney Sullins is making himself known, as well as Chris Elliott up there in the top 5 now.
Terry Bombard just back there as well, so some names that we haven't talked about yet, been kind of hovering in the latter half of the top 10, making their presence felt in the closing stages of this race as Metallic way up the track pounds the outside wall off of turn 2.
Big wreck. Grant Wesley involved. On the midway of the backstretch, the 95 is involved. The 51 looks like also involved. They are racing back under caution here now.
Jim Glaude up and over in the grass as Jeremy Jeffries will lead them back to the stripe. Add Glenn Harris into that. Dave Robbins. Glaude's car never flipped back on all 4 wheels.
That was the big one, Seth, I fear.
Harris able to drive away. Colin Flick, I believe, might have been involved in this one as well. As we take a look at what happened off of turn 2.
Ronald Lucier involved again. The 96 of Dave Robbins involved. 143, Bob Dixon involved again.
Looks like Brian Schilling, did he get the wall, or was there maybe a little bumper grab there between him and Grant?
It looks like he just, I mean, everything comes together right at the split second, but Brian is up into that safer barrier, it appears, just by a tick, and that's all it takes. And the 51 just is literally pushing the 95 on the inside unsuspectingly. Here comes the 88. But yeah, Grant got to Brian's bumper probably just because of that slight tick to the wall.
And we saw Josh Metallic up ahead of them getting to the outside wall as well. And, we're getting to the point now where, we babied the race car through 1 and 2. But now you're wide open. You're hoping it sticks because you know that those cars to the inside, they're doing the exact same thing. And you got to fight fire with fire to keep your track position.
My word, did Jim Glad go for a roll, a
Yes,
rock
he
and a
did.
roll.
There goes the four-tire advantage for Grant Wesley. Denny Carroll was in that.
I think you're going to see the majority of the pit crews have already taken the rest of the night off on this one.
Especially those drivers up at the front. I believe I counted 10 drivers that got bits and pieces of this incident. And a few drivers, as a result, are going to make it this far only to finish in the garage area. Jeff Crivello and Jim Gloud. And we can now add to that list Dante Ricky in the 84. So that will bring us to a half dozen drivers that will not reach the conclusion of this one here tonight. And with the lights out, looks like we're going to get this restart with 6 laps remaining.
Not much more to say here. It is on. We know if we get the caution now with this new EXE, there's a chance we could do what we call a quickie caution with one time around. Everybody who wants to pit can pit lead laps, lap downs, and they'll get the lap down cars to the rear, and we'll go from there. But it's Jeremy's got the lead right now. The question is, can he get out there and hold it? Josh has definitely shown himself tonight to be quite strong, and we've got now the addition of Chris Elliott, Rodney Sullins, and Terry Bombard up there to see. And of course, the draft makes a difference. So where they all stack up will show an advantage to one of these leaders.
Yeah, we saw Metallic get the wall from third. Schilling and Wesley's contact was around the 6th position, so that just shows nobody is safe. Well, we've got these cars up front that collectively have led 80 of the 88 laps here tonight. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's where they're going to finish, depending on how wild this restart and maybe any future restarts are going to be. But Jeremy Jeffrey is going to bring us down here. You mentioned it, Sean. This used to be dubbed the house that Jeremy built, and he wants the deed back, I guess.
It's the battle for RTG Kansas supremacy underway as they take it into turn one side by side.
Jeffries clears. Supta, you saw him as he shifted up to 4th gear, back into that car, got a little squirrely. That allows Metallic to edge ahead going into turn 3. And Supta really struggling there on that top side. Back into Chris
Oh, and the
Elliott, and
9 is going around.
Elliott!
He saves it. He's up straightening it out. I don't know if the caution's out yet. The caution is out. Racing back, and Jeremy's going to take the caution.
Yep, caution is indeed out, despite the wall assisting Chris Elliott in keeping that thing pointed in the right direction. I don't think he was actually the reason for the yellow. I just saw the 96 back behind the wall, and now further contact up ahead as Ron Lucet gets into John Godfrey. But I believe the 96 was the reason the yellow came out. I think the 9 did manage to save it, where that would not have brought out the caution.
Yep, the 96 of Dave Robbins and our challenger defending champion, Colin Flick, in the 95 got together. Looks like that was the result of bringing the yellow flag coming out.
I believe both of these drivers are in that challenger series. Yeah, just wrong place, wrong time for the 95 after Robbins gets loose. And then try and see if we can figure out what happens further up here with the 7-11 and the 62. They make their way around Chris Elliott. We'll take a look at his save again here in just a moment. They take the caution. And yeah, it just looks like the 62 pushes up a little bit into the 711 and they're bouncing off of each other.
Looks like the 143 and the 62 had gotten together a little bit on the entry to that turn.
Chris Elliott up there in the top 5. And this checkup is going to lose him all the track position, but a tremendous save. It's a bit surprising. It kind of seems to go against the law of physics where the car that gets into the back of the car that checks up in front of them is the one that gets loose and almost loses it, because we've seen that about 2 or 3 times tonight. You would think that if a car checks up in front of you, you bump them in the center of the corner, it's the car you bump that's going to go around, but it's the complete opposite effect.
Seems to be happening that way. I've noticed that as well.
So you talked about, with the CXC, the opportunity for quickie yellows. We're at 4 to go. Should be able to get pit road open here if necessary.
Looks like we'll get a 2-lap shootout maybe.
Yeah, we don't have any lap cars too, so we don't have to worry about that. Dave Robbins has gone to the garage area, so it looks like 22 drivers looking to finish out tonight's season opener. And there you see, lights out. So 2-lap shootout in regulation green-white checkered. So if they make it around to the white flag, they race back to the checkered flag, no matter whether the caution comes out or not. But if the caution comes out before the leader receives the white flag, race ends under yellow.
Yep, there'll be no getting it going green again from here. This is it.
I mentioned about the adrenaline that must have been pumping when they took the green to start lap 1. That adrenaline's back, because it's going to be 2 laps to sort this thing out. And Jeremy Jeffries is going to have Josh Metallic to his outside, Rodney Sullins behind him in 3rd, Supta, the defending winner of this race from 2 seasons ago, in 4th. Dave Melson is now up here in the 5th position, Doug Cady in 6th. Great job by a number of these drivers getting up here. Terry Bombard in 7th. Ron Haglin's made his way back up into the top 10 in 8th with Andre Charest and Bobby Farrell, your top 10 here for the final restart of the season opener for Season 65 of the Barebones Racing Series.
Can't ask for anything more exciting for the very first one, Seth. Here we go.
3 miles to determine the first winner of the season. Jeremy Jeffries, the control car, up through the gears, timed it beautifully. Metallic a little slow there on that top side, stacks them up, so now it might be Rodney who's going to have the shot at Jeremy for this victory. Both clear going into 1.
Looks like the draft is Rodney's and Josh's to use now, going down the backstretch to see if they can generate a run on Jeremy. But Jeremy's gotten out there by 4 car lengths. He's going to be tough to catch with a lap and a half to go here. They're going to have to really get a run.
Keeping an eye on those caution lights here through 3 and 4. So far, they are still green. Can Jeremy Jeffries get off of 4, get to the start-finish line here to receive the white flag? He will. 1 lap to go, 1.5 miles here at Kansas, about 2 car lengths back to Rodney Sullins.
Looks like the battle right now is in there, quite honestly, around 5th, 6th place. Jeremy's got it going by 3 car lengths going into turn 3.
Well, Jeremy Jeffries, as caution is out, doesn't matter. We're racing back to the checkered flag here, looking to reestablish his ownership of Kansas. He'll do so tonight. Jeremy Jeffries wins the season opener of Season 65.
Rodney Sullins is going to bring it home 2nd. Josh Metallic 3rd. Dave Melson 4th. And Jeff Supta, our pole sitter and defending race winner from last time, is going to bring it home in 5th.
With this victory, Jeremy Jeffries will lock himself into the playoffs. And I'll put this just in quotes because it's unlikely if he falls out of the top 12 in points. Don't see that happening.
Top 20 with the win now.
And Jeremy's going to do some burnouts here on the front straightaway. You talked about it, our front row here tonight. Jeremy Jeffries, Jeff Supta, that was where we were going to probably see the battle this evening. And Jeremy able to have the track position on that final restart, established as the control car, was able to get clear. And I would hazard a guess, put down 2 qualifying laps there on that final green-white checkered.
There was no question. Once that green flag boom and he got the jump that he did, he just set it out and hit his marks, and it would have been tough to catch him at that point when he got that big launch out of there. Got to give credit to all the drivers through the field. We had a few cautions, but man, these guys give and take, and they do it every week. They're going to hopefully have a whole season of getting to do stuff like this. Looks like that final caution was a result of the 9 and the 95 coming together.
We'll take a look at that here real quickly. Chris Elliott and Colin Flick, couple of the Dodge representatives in the field here tonight, bringing out the race-ending yellow. We'll be in a moment heading into our FRM post-race wind-down to talk with our podium finishers here tonight, including Jeremy Jeffries, who we saw making his way to victory lane, and back here around 15th on back, and these drivers are fighting tooth and nail for every position as well. We talk about how points are so important. A 15th place could be entirely different for a driver by the time we get to the end of the regular season as opposed to a 16th place finish, but fortunately there for both Elliott and Flick. That contact going to have them crossing the line in 20th and 20, or make that 21st and 22nd.
It's a great race, and then we get with Dave Robbins with his late race accident, and Dante Ricky, who was caught up in a couple of them there tonight, 23rd and 24th respectively. Jeff Cavello in his new Bazooka Gum car there, caught out in the accident prior, ends up in 25th. Jim Glaude after his barrel roll, 26th, and then Jason with his piston, and Andre Mangione and Greg Palmer round out the rest of the field.
You look at a number of the drivers up here with these really good runs, didn't necessarily have themselves up in the top 10 the entirety of the day, like a Dave Melson or a Terry Bombard, Doug Cady. When you think about the fact we've got North Wilkesboro next on the schedule, there are certain drivers that there are certain racetracks that they love. Some love the road courses, some love the short tracks, the mile and a halfs like we had here tonight at Kansas. When you see a track that you're not necessarily all that comfortable at, like a North Wilkesboro coming up next week, you got to wonder if they kind of circled this race and said, I need to perform here to make sure if I run into trouble next week, I've got myself a bit of a points cushion. And for some of these drivers, it might have been mission accomplished.
There's no question with a short track and then a super speedway making its debut in the series coming up for the next two races. The old familiar Kansas, you want to try to cash some points, but we have big fields here, and somebody's got to finish 30th or 28th, wherever we stack up that particular week, and that's a tough pill to swallow when some of these guys are as accomplished as they are, and opportunities abound. And that's another benefit of those halfway bonus points. If there were no other bonus points available, you could get yourself a big hole. But sometimes you can race these races almost as if there's two laps that matter more than anything else, that halfway lap and the final lap, and do what you can to work for those and forget about the rest. Just play your positions, but be focused on making those when you're in a point situation. Now that Jeremy has a win and pretty much locks himself in, stage points maybe don't matter so much to him.
Great point. And, you think about it too. When a driver goes to victory lane and they know they pretty much solidified a playoff position, that can make them more dangerous in terms of how they might utilize some varying strategies here the remainder of this regular season, as we will now head into our FRN post-race wind down, and it's time to dial up our podium finishers here tonight. Let's kick things off with the driver that brought it home in the third position this evening, Josh Metallic.
User was moved to your channel.
Hey Josh, it's Sean and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got a copy?
I do.
Beautiful paint scheme out there. Unfortunately, some of it was left on the wall there off of turn 2, but solid run here tonight. Up in the top 5 the entirety of the evening. Led a ton of laps as well. Strong showing here in the opener. Looked like, did you get caught out there on that final green flag? Just not able to get up through the gears? Because looked like the one got just a little bit better launch. You weren't able to hang with him when you guys got to the start-finish line.
Well, you're being too kind. He dusted me. I felt bad for Supta. Every time I restarted with him behind me, I was slow to react. And, I was paying attention. I just, it caught me off guard. I think it was going to come out when it did. It seemed like it came out early that time. Maybe I was wrong. And, at that point, it was over, at least with a 2-lap shootout. And yeah, the wall. If I could stick along Jeremy, I was trying to keep him pinned down on a restart. Momentum was a big thing here, and I was committed. I thought I might brush the wall and be okay. It gave me a little bit of damage, very minor, but yeah, it was a fun race. Very competitive, very hard racing.
Josh, again, congratulations on your third place finish. But yeah, you were in contention all night, and that paint job of yours is a pretty sharp looking car. But we thought right to the end, when you saw Jeremy get the jump he did on that final restart, did you feel at that point it was over and it was just trying to look for somebody help maybe to push you up there?
Yeah, with 2 laps and the fact that it's Jeremy, I mean, you kind of have to get the jump on him to have a shot if it's the other way around. And Rodney, I think I don't know if he had 2 or 4 tires, but he was underneath me, had the momentum. So I knew it was down to the restart, and I blew it. I missed it. So, but it's fine. It was a fun race. Yeah, just made a critical error at the wrong time.
I wouldn't call it a critical error at all. I mean, you had it
Yeah, yeah.
up and down all night, and as I pointed out earlier, I recall last race you were here right up to the very end when we raced here last time.
Yeah, it was pretty uneventful for me. All the wrecks, luckily were behind me. I didn't make any mistakes on pit road. It was just up there most of the night in the top five, and every time I thought I might be running a little bit too hard, tires about to be a factor, yellow came out. Then near the end, it kind of got more frequent. Less patience, more aggression. So yeah, I mean, I haven't seen what all happened back there, but up front, it was good hard racing all night. I apologize to Grant earlier. I know I ran him tight and I saw him get loose, made a hell of a save. So if I pinched him too much, again, apologies to him too.
A great start to the season for you here, Josh, bringing it home on the podium here this evening at Kansas. We documented some interesting tracks coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Short track at North Wilkesboro next week, Coca-Cola Super Speedway in 2 weeks' time. So a good established podium finish to kick off season 65 for you. Congrats once again. We'll give you the opportunity now for thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Appreciate it. It won't be too long, but definitely thanks to you, Seth, and Sean. I'm anxious to go back and watch the broadcast. They're always fun to watch on Thursdays. I know they'll be fun on Mondays too. Sean's done this before. He's a natural, even no matter what he says. So it'll be fun to watch all season. Again, thanks to Prime and Bones, Jeremy, all the other admins. They've done a lot more work than I have this off season, getting the website, the forums, the cars, the EXEs. I mean, they're busier in the off season than they are during the season. Secretly, Sean's maybe a little bit happy he just gets to sit up here and commentate, not have to herd cats or deal with, Lord knows what, at least for one night of the week. So appreciate them, the drivers as well, and the clean racing, and yeah, fun night. Appreciate it.
Oh, you made me spit my drink out, but yeah, I 100% get. Hopefully Seth tolerated me. There's definitely some rust to shake off.
Uh, he says that he'll say he's rusty at a track and he goes out and throws it on poles. So if he says
I've
that, I
heard
know he
that
did a good
so much
job.
from drivers before. I'm not good
Yeah,
at this racetrack, and then they go out and perform. It's like, okay. To whose
sandbagging,
standards are you not good?
sandbagging. He's even doing it in commentating.
No, don't say that. You have to wait and see. I don't want to listen to it.
Oh, I know. I've done it a few times before, and I don't like going back and listen. I think I have a horrible voice, so I'm like, I don't want to hear myself talk. But I'm anxious to
But
watch. I think they'll be fun this season.
Well,
but
there's
you gave it
absolutely
a
no
heck of a run
complaints from me,
tonight.
I'll tell you that much.
Nice.
You gave it a heck of a run tonight, sir. You really did. And I thought it was an above average race pace when you guys even were stringed out. I thought the lap times were really blistering.
We started early. I was backing up the corners, and by middle of the race, we were all just hauling it. At least I was, and the guys I was chasing, and I couldn't make much ground, so I know they were hauling it. So the pace picked up throughout the night, especially at the end there, and then you had 2 tires, no tires, and damaged cars. So everyone was kind of on their own, playing that last 10 laps or so. So it made for pretty interesting TV, I'm sure.
Definitely did. Well, Josh, congratulations on getting the season started off strong with a podium finish here tonight. Third place at Kansas. Best of luck next week when we get to North Wilkesboro for some good old short track racing.
Appreciate it. Good win, Jeremy. Good P2, Ronnie, too.
Josh Metallic, third place this
User
evening,
was
and
moved out
we'll
of your
now
channel.
jump up to that runner-up finisher, Rodney Sullins.
User was moved
Hey,
to your
Rodney, it's Sean
channel.
and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I got you, fellas. How you doing?
Well, I don't think I've ever heard a racing term hover, but I'm going to coin that phrase here tonight because that was kind of what you were doing this evening, hovering right around 5th through 7th place, keeping yourself in the conversation, and then on that final restart, you find yourself on the inside of row 2. You're clear for second position by the time you guys get into turn 1 with a shot at this race victory. Solid, consistent night for this 38 car.
Yeah, it's funny. Ken Roberts was talking to somebody the other day when we were talking about years ago, and that's what he used to say about me. Exactly what you were saying, Rodney. Just runs around there, and then when it gets to the end of the race, if he's got a chance, he'll try to get up there at the front. But I don't force it early. I just like to get out there and ride around and hopefully be around when it matters.
Rodney, I think you've been around a lot more than you give yourself credit for. I pay fairly close attention, as you know. And last season, you were right up there in contention the whole damn year. You know, you got to victory lane, and you made a heck of a run there in the playoffs as well. And tonight, you were steadily there. And I really did enjoy watching a lot of your paint schemes going around. I was kind of holding my wheel at the same time, wishing I was driving mine. But we'll get to see your sexy paint job of mine Thursday night, rumor has it. But you really put on a heck of a steady. You were there. You never fell too far back, and you made a heck of a run there at the end. Did you think you had a chance there on the final restart to go grab Jeremy right off the start?
I did. I wanted to restart actually on the outside. I felt like I was a little better on the restarts on the outside. I took it a little easy on the inside, but when I got past Josh, I wanted to run down Jeremy or try to, but my thought was to don't do something stupid and slide up the track and cost yourself 2 or 3 positions. You got a good finish right here. And Jeremy did a great job with that clean air and stretched it out a little bit. So I just kind of, when it turned it loose coming out of 2 and stuff, I'm just like, let's just do what we got and have a good finish. But yeah, I appreciate the kind words. I enjoy racing here in the Barebones series. It's been good. Yeah, I had a speeding penalty tonight and got a black flag. I hit 46 for a millisecond, and I guess NASCAR was watching me at that point. So, but other than that, I had a good night. It was a lot of fun.
We end up talking about, they're rather expedited regular seasons. Only 10 regular season races here until the playoffs are put together. So there's really not a lot of room for error. And at a track here tonight as complex as Kansas, we know it's multi-groove. We know that it'll bring in the facets of not only tire conservation, but also, fuel conservation, fuel strategy. How important was it for you coming into tonight, and how much of a sense did you get a feeling maybe with the rest of the field as well, everybody trying to establish the season here this evening with a good run?
Yeah, well, when I first came in, I had to help with a couple of car files and stuff, so I didn't really get to practice as much as I wanted to. So I was a little nervous. I qualified better than I anticipated. Honestly, I think I don't know, where was I? Sixth, I think, fifth. I don't even know, but I qualified better than I thought. But yeah, it was. You always want to get that first foot put forward and hope it's a good one. Everybody had that in mind tonight. I missed out because of my speeding penalty. Jeremy's already updated the points. I'm sixth in points after finishing second because I got my speeding penalty right at the halfway mark, so I didn't get any of the bonus points for that. So that's kind of a little aggravating, but it's my fault. I hit 1 mile an hour over. But yeah, I just wanted to get off. Like I say, put a good foot forward and get this season rolling.
Well, your analysis there of how you approach that final restart, I mean, I feel that so well you described it. Second place, third place, or 19th or 23rd. It goes through your mind on that final restart. Yeah, I want to go get that, man. I want to go get that. But at the same point, and I thought it was about the outside line. conventional wisdom, they didn't sound that it's definitely faster and shorter around on the restart, but you're so loose at the apex of 1 and 2 on the bottom, right by that white line. We saw Ron Hagelin get into trouble down there in one of the restarts, amongst others. So I totally get your logic there. Maybe wanting to take the outside, but you made a great choice. You ran a hell of a race, despite you overcame the challenge, and it cost you a couple points at the halfway, but you brought home a great finish. So congrats, Rodney.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I see what happened to Chris Elliott earlier, or right there at the end of the race. I say earlier, but kind of before that last restart where he come in and kind of had to do a little checkup, and I don't know where he finished, but he went to the back, and that's exactly what was going through my mind those last few laps. Is don't try to overdrive to catch Jeremy. This will do for a good start.
Yep, I've laid a giant egg on a final restart. I know how that feels, man. Get what you can, but not too much.
Well,
10-4. Yeah, Josh helped me out there too by not getting a really good restart. So anyway, but yeah,
Rodney, congratulations on the solid runner-up finish to start off this 65th season, the Barebones Racing Series. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
that's Seth. Obviously, I gotta thank the owners, Bones and Prime, RTG here. It's a great place. I want to thank you, Flatout Racing Network, Seth Cole, again, Sean Prime, the admins for Bare Bones, Jeremy Jeffries, and again, Sean Prime. Thank you for and Bones and Prime have been working their tail off, keeping this thing going, getting us ready for this season. Jeremy Jeffries, the other admin on Mondays, what a job he's been doing with everything. I mean, he's a huge asset. All the admins here, Josh and Tim, my Thursday partners, my Burnt Screwdrivers teammates. I think John was the only one still here when the race ended. Um, Black Rifle Coffee, Habana Brisa, Shinko, Diecast, Custom Diecast, Wicker's Barbecue Sauce. My dad, I'm pretty sure he was watching tonight. I appreciate you watching me. I hope you enjoyed that race. Love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.
That's Rodney Sullivan, second place here tonight at the Kansas Speedway, and he will look to carry this momentum into next week when we go short track racing at North Wilkesboro. Congratulations on the great start here to season 65, Rodney.
Thank you, fellas. Y'all have a good night.
Let's see if we can now go
User
down
was
to
moved out of your
victory
channel.
lane, interrupt the celebration of one Jeremy Jeffries.
User was moved to
Hey,
your
Jeremy,
channel.
it's Sean and Seth up here in the FRM booth. Got us?
I do. Good evening.
Well, Sean led us into the night saying that this was known as the place that Jeremy Jeffries built. And you're back on top here tonight, winning the season opener several times. Lost the lead, had to get it back. At one point, actually slipped back to around the 7th position after a great save. Fighting up to the front, able to be there on that final restart as the control car. Adventurous night, but a strong machine throughout.
Oh, absolutely. This car, this track, this setup, it all just comes together at this track for me almost every time we're here. So I love it. It's probably my favorite. If we have to have a favorite track in the sim, probably my favorite.
Jeremy, I build this as your house because that's how we always thought of it. And then I was doing some research to try to do this job today, and I noticed that Jeff Supta had won the last race here, the last race at Lightning Trucks, and then when I was talking to him pre-race, he had won. I think it was season 60 in both series as well. So he's been enjoying some Kansas charm. So you got yourself back there today, and I noticed you ran that patented Jeremy line where you like to back up the turns and run that mid line, and sometimes it would cost you because guys keep trying to take advantage and go under the bottom and get under you, but by the end of the straightaway, you were right back where you were.
Oh yeah, that line is my favorite line, and nobody else really runs it, so you don't get the dirty air as much. It helps save the tires. It doesn't build tire heat as much, and it's good for long runs and saving tire, but we didn't really get that tonight, so I had to change my game plan.
Something interesting here, kind of looking over the stats from the last two seasons as well. Only a 1 in the win column. Getting this victory in the early going here in the season opener, Sean and I were talking about how that can make a driver more dangerous, make them a little bit more aggressive in strategy or just in race pace here for the remainder of this regular season. So, what extra motivation was there outside of this being your favorite racetrack here, just based off the fact that the last couple of seasons you haven't been able to put the one car in victory lane multiple times, get an opportunity here to now build off this first win of the season?
Well, I was actually telling somebody before I came up here for the interview. I believe I won the season opener last season and then went winless the rest of the season. So I hope that's not a trend. But uh, it's so nice to start the season out, know you're going to be in the chase, and just it's a weight lifted off until race 9, and then after that we head into race 10, and all the pressure comes back.
And you are correct, sir. You won Pikes Peak to open up season 64 last season.
Well, Jeremy, congratulations on the victory here tonight, getting season 65 started off with a bang, burning it down here at the 1.5 miles at Kansas. And as you said, locking yourself into the playoffs here very early on in the season. Before we let you get back to your celebration, though, we'll give it the opportunities for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
I'm cutting you off before you get to say that, because
Okay.
before you get to thank people, we're thanking Jeremy Jeffries, because we've busted our butts to keep this place going, but Jeremy's busted his butt to keep us going, and all those funny, nice gizmos on our new Race LM race servers website. Those little extra widgets were all put there by Mr. Jeremy in the off season. He's made us look really good, and we're happy to have you. Now you can have the floor.
Well, I guess I'll start out by thanking Sean and David Cannon, because they're the reason we're still here. I couldn't do all this work and build the website and do what I've done without there still being a place to race. So thank you to you guys. Also, Seth, thanks for bringing FRN to Mondays for us. It's good to have these broadcasts, and can't wait to watch it back and continue through the rest of the season, and hopefully get interviewed a few more times. I've kind of made a habit of it this past week, and I'm enjoying it. So thank you to the staff here at RTG. I'm not the only one that puts in work behind the scenes. We got a great group of guys here that are doing what they can also to keep this place going and keeping everything up to date and make sure everybody comes and everything runs smoothly. So thanks to those guys. Thanks to I guess my family, my friends, my XFM teammates. Thanks to Zupta for not taking tires on that last stop and not winning another one of these dang Kansas races, taking it away from me. So and Josh on that last restart. Thanks for not going. But no, it's all in fun. But I do appreciate these guys, and appreciate the win, and appreciate you all. Thank you.
Well, that's Jeremy Jeffries. He's your winner here tonight in the season opener at the Kansas Speedway for season 65 of the Barebones Racing Series. Go enjoy that victory, Jeremy. Best of luck to you the remainder of this regular season. Maybe we'll talk to you a time or two before the playoffs begin here, as you get yourself locked into that first playoff position. Congratulations.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks, Sean.
I'll be down to help with the review shortly, sir.
10-4.
User was
Jeremy
moved
Jeffries,
out of your
your
channel.
winner here tonight. An interesting race here, which we knew, Sean, it was going to be a fine balance between aggression and patience. And this racetrack, it would either reward you or it would bite you based off of just how much you overstepped on either end of that scale.
So true, so true. And we'll probably see something similar on a different discipline at Wilkesboro next week, but I'm looking forward to that one as well. But these guys really, you're going to see them showcase. You participated in this series. It's fun. It can be intense. There's no question about it. The competition. As was put to me before by somebody I went through under the bus. We appreciate each other. We've been doing this together for so long. Are we rivals? Are we compatriots? Both. And we love it, and it keeps us coming back.
Well, Jeremy Jeffries establishes here early on in the season that car number 1 is number 1, at least here in the opener. He goes back to victory lane here at Kansas. Back-to-back seasons that he wins the season opener in the Barebones Racing Series. As you mentioned, Sean, we've got a thriller coming up next week at North Wilkesboro. We're going to be going short track racing. Also noticed that it's 3 times wear, so can't wait to pick your brain on how that's going to play a factor into the potential strategies we'll see in that race. But that will be next Monday night. Green flag going to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And hopefully everybody has an appetite for some super speedway racing, because we are going to be having back-to-back nights here, Wednesday and Thursday night, where we're going to be at Talladega Super Speedway. On Wednesday night, it's the Esports Oval League's Grind Cup Series, as they continue on their regular season at the High Bank 2.66 mile Super Speedway, and then we're back here with RTG as they kick off season 65 with the Talladega Challenge Series. They are at Talladega as well, so back-to-back nights at the large 2.66 mile high banked super speedway in Alabama. Hope you guys will join us for that. Green flag for both those events will be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. Sean, privileged to have you in the booth here tonight. Can't wait for the rest of this season. Great race here tonight at Kansas, and I appreciate you joining me.
Seth, it was truly my pleasure. You are the consummate professional. Hopefully I didn't step on you or myself too much. I'll get better. I'll work at it like I always will. I tell you, really things to be excited about at Season 65 at RTG. Besides the big track action, I mean, tomorrow night we've got our iRacing series going at Lanier with the Legend, Tribute ARCA cars, Legacy, they believe they call them now. That's a fun time. And then Wednesday night, the Aero 88 series is back on Wednesdays, and they are doing period correct tracks. They're debuting that series at Atlanta 1980s, and that'll be fun, leading us into Tally Challenge, where I look forward to seeing you from the other side on Thursday, sir.
Absolutely. You mentioned about those Aero 88 cars on Wednesday night. Yeah, it's the debut of the Xfinity cars on Thursday night, so that will be a lot of fun to observe. Thank you all for tuning to our coverage here tonight. Congratulations once again to Jeremy Jeffries on his victory here tonight at the Kansas Speedway. For Sean Prime, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next week at North Wilkesboro Speedway, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.